can do with technology is to move work. This is the campus of an Indian firm called Zendel Technologies. It provides software development services, and services are provided largely to companies in the UK, the US, and across Europe. So it carries out software development on behalf of organisations using resources that cost from a sixth to a quarter that they would cost if they were based in the countries in which they're providing the services to. We can put these three things together: the division of work, the use of technology and relocation, and create centralized activities. So here's a very simple model of a business. And let's say that the blue boxes represent the financial function. So each business serving a different customer and market has some accountants that do the work to help them keep score, to keep track of the numbers. And then there's a central accounting function that's operating the whole of the business. What you would find if you looked in each of those individual units is that they'd be doing pretty much the same thing, but they'd be doing it slightly differently, maybe with different systems, maybe not particularly cleverly. If we take all of the routine work and put it in one place, we can use technology to make it more effective. We get more productive work from the people. And what we leave in the business is just the expert work that needs to be done face-to-face and through a relationship. And so suddenly we have the capability to move work wherever we can, wherever we want to, because it doesn't matter where this is done. It can be done anywhere. It can be in the building next door, or it can be in Bangalore in India, because technology will bridge that gap. This has been a process that's been going on for the last 10 or 15 years in business. In fact, we were at a meeting this morning talking about the way in which the British Embassy is going to process visa applications for students coming to the UK. And previously they had 4 or 5 locations in North and South America, and they've basically collapsed it down to Bogota, is now the centre for processing visa applications for Central and South America, and New York is the centre for North America. And they've done exactly this. They've combined the work into one location, they apply technology to it, they make it more productive, and so instead of processing small amounts of visas in different places, they're going to centralise it and put it all in one place. The law firms are having to do this now. They've suddenly woken up to the fact that if they're to control their costs, they need to start moving their work around. So most of the big London law firms have created these centres and put their accounting and their HR and their IT people in them, but they're also putting legal work into those locations. And at the moment they're being very cautious. They're using other parts of the United Kingdom that are slightly lower cost and it costs less money for office space and less money to hire staff. The next step will be they'll start to look further abroad. These are pictures of 2 of the big law firm centres. One is in Scotland, one in Ireland. Nice, smart offices, nice environments to work in, but distanced from the central activity of the firm and the relationships with clients. Because in these offices, what we're doing is the routine transactional legal work that supports the work of the partners and the people that have the deep expert in legal work. So if you go to work in one of these, instead of working on a day-to-day basis with some of the best legal minds in the firm and having direct contact and exposure to them, you're stuck in a building a long way away, processing stuff at arm's length and not necessarily having a full understanding of what you're being asked to do. You're reading documents, you're marking them up, you're annotating, but you're not getting the contact, which profoundly changes the relationship between entry-level lawyers and the rest of the firm. In fact, what they're starting to do is use paralegals, people that are not fully qualified lawyers, but understand enough about the law to do the routine work. I'm sure you're familiar with eBay and the other kind of online auctions. Well, online auctions are being used to make professional services more efficient. This application cab manager is for getting a taxi in London, and you can put in a requirement for a taxi journey and you get a quote and you can choose the best price. Click for Legal is a system that Deutsche Bank, the big investment bank, has installed, where when it wants legal work doing now, it posts on Click for Legal the requirements, and then it holds what's called a reverse auction. So it invites law firms to bid for the work, and they can see each other's bids, and they compete to see who's willing to bid the lowest amount of money to do that work. So suddenly we've got intense pressure on the price. There's no longer that cosy relationship between the counsel and the law firm partner over lunch. Instead, we have an online auction driving price down, which is an uncomfortable experience when you haven't encountered before. And there are other marketplaces that seek to broker the relationship between lawyers and clients. So here, this is a website designed to allow firms to post requirements for legal work and to take bids from potential firms to do the work. And what they're seeking for, of course, is value. And when they've had the work done for them, like so many other of these sites, they rate the performance of the individuals that perform the work and of the firm. So they build up a reputation based on how well they perform on a day-to-day basis. This is also creating new networks and ways of collaborating and finding business. How many of you are familiar with LinkedIn? How many of you are familiar with a network called LinkedIn? One person? Two. Okay. As you progress in your career, you'll find LinkedIn a great way to connect and build professional relationships. It's a Facebook for professionals, if you like. It enables people to connect, to form connections, and to communicate around business issues. And that's been around now for some years. The Yammer is what's called enterprise social networking. This is Facebook for businesses. So it's a social networking tool to be used internally within a firm. And it enables people in a global firm to build relationships using a social technology, which have huge benefits when it comes to building knowledge and knowing who to ask. The key to success in a big organisation is typically not what you know, but who you know and who is willing to share their knowledge and expertise with you. Well, Yammer and LinkedIn are both tools for helping you build relationships that will enable you to get help when you need it. The last relationship, Legal on Ramp, allows law firm clients to talk to each other and exchange ideas. So this is the buyers of legal services talking about the law firms and comparing notes. So suddenly they're assessing the value of the services, who's good, who isn't good, which adds to the pressure on the law firms to perform and to deliver value to their clients. This is also creating new ways of designing the law firm. The traditional law firm is a hierarchy. At the top is a managing partner who's in charge. There's a group of partners, and then progressively junior lawyers. And you enter the law firm at the bottom as a graduate. You complete a training process and you progress either up the firm or out of the firm until you arrive at the top of the hierarchy. That's the old model, and that model is disappearing. There's something that looks like this. Fewer partners at the top, more people in the middle, and then a big bunch of people in those back offices or outsourced or doing the routine work who aren't part of the progression to partner, but are supporting the work of the firm. That means a requirement to manage a different sort of people with different rewards and to work in a very different way. And creates not necessarily particularly attractive roles for those that are in here, because their chance of progressing into this area of the firm are much lower. I suspect at the back of the room you can't see at all. This is the graph that shows the profit per partner. So one of the measures of a law firm's success is how much profit do the partners make. The partners are the owners of the firm. And a firm may have several hundred partners. So this is the number of partners. Allen & Overy, one of those big magic circle firms, nearly 500 partners. And those partners are making nearly £1 million of profit every year. That's £1 million that goes into their pocket, right? So each year, they're generating a very, very substantial profit within the firm. And this is typically the measure that is used to assess the success of the London law firms. And what's happening is, the bigger firms are actually getting bigger and more profitable, but the ones that are doing the next level of work down are under intense pressure to find ways to improve their profitability and be more successful. And they're particularly struggling as to where and how should we compete, what work do we do, how do we find a way to differentiate ourselves from the other firms in the marketplace. Up to now, I've only really been talking about the way in which an individual firm is being effective. But of course, law firms exist within a system, and the place where legal firms come together is in the courts. In 1993 in Williamsburg in Virginia, a thing called Courtroom 21 was set up to experiment with the way in which technology could be used within a courtroom. Courtrooms are intensely conservative organisations. They are using processes and technologies that haven't changed for 200 years in the UK. A judge of 100 years ago would not be surprised at some of the workings of the court today. And I went to what's now the Centre for Legal Technology in 1997 with a group of senior judges from the London courts. And we spent 3 days talking about how we could use technology in the courtroom to improve the speed of trials. And to give you some idea of that, if you're conducting a very complex trial with many items of evidence, if you use very simple display technology, you can reduce the time for the trial by 30 to 50%. So there are really big savings to be made in the courtroom process if you can introduce technology. And I came back from that meeting thinking, those 3 days thinking, well, in the next 5 years we will see courtrooms across the UK adopting technology because the benefits are so manifestly great. Why wouldn't you do it? This is technology that was easy and accessible and being widely used, so why wouldn't it get adopted? Well, I should have known better. Sometime before that, I listened to a discussion by Gary Hamel, who's a professor at the London Business School, about the way in which the internet would be adopted. And he said this: we tend to overestimate the speed of technology adoption, and we underestimate the impact. We overestimate the speed of adoption, we underestimate the impact. And you can see that with the way in which the internet has taken a long time to begin to really change business. And the internet started in 1996. We didn't see Amazon beginning to make significant sales until about 2005. Facebook really got going in 2005. So it's been a relatively long time coming. And it's only today that we're really seeing, I think, the big impacts of the internet through our access through mobile devices, our willingness to shop online, and so on. It's taken a long time. And I was horribly wrong about the speed at which courts would adopt technology. The judges themselves are conservative by nature. And when you have expert people doing complicated work, which have many options for performing the work, it's very hard to get agreement on just how it should be done. And that was the problem with the systems within the courtroom, getting agreement that the changes could be made. Would all of the judges agree to have the technology? Would prosecutors be comfortable? Would defence counsel be comfortable with it? So it's only now planned that by the end of next year, we will have courtroom technology. And this is really simple technology. This is Wi-Fi, okay? So that the lawyers in the room can actually access documents and material that they haven't brought into the courtroom. But the UK court system uses something like 160 million pieces of paper every year in administering justice. Well, if we could use electronic documents, we would transform the way that that works. Digital evidence screens. That's actually just, let's have a screen and present our evidence on a screen so people can see it, rather than having a big bundle of papers and saying to the juror and to the defendant, turn to page 23 of your bundle and look at the document on page 23. Instead, we put it straight onto a screen. It speeds up the process of justice enormously. And there's a lot of other technology investment going on to just get rid of all of that paper stuff. This has taken 20 years. This is not difficult technology to use. Well, it is actually if you're a senior judge. It is difficult technology because you're not familiar with it. But to the next generation of lawyers coming into the system, this is easy technology. It's what we would expect as the norm in terms of being able to make ourselves productive and have access to information and to be able to display documents. All of this that I've talked about is stuff that's happened. It's observable. We've transformed the way financial accounting, human resource management, procurement, information systems. We've automated it, we've relocated it, we've split it up, we've made it more efficient, we've done all of that. And we're doing it to the law firms now. And they're not enjoying it, but it will happen and it will work through the system. The big challenge for all of you is what's coming next. Because what's coming next is a very different set of technologies that will profoundly change the work of knowledge workers. Does anyone know, does anyone play Scrabble? Has Scrabble reached Columbia?
Yes.
Yes, okay, good. And backgammon, I guess. And are we familiar with Jeopardy, the trivial quiz game? Okay, so what do these three games have in common? Does anyone know?
Board games, table games.
Yeah, they're board games and table games, that's true. They have that in common. What else do they have in common? Sorry? Okay, I think we're looking up the word.
They're portable, well, small.
Okay, no. No, the answer is that there are computers that are far better than humans at playing them. You would lose to a computer, the right computer. But there are computers that beat the best human players consistently, even at trivial quizzes, okay? And this is artificial intelligence, which is with us now and is only going to get more pervasive. Actually, what happens with artificial intelligence is that it gets adopted and we call it software. So Siri on your iPhone or the Genius recommendations on your iTunes, that's artificial intelligence. It's observing patterns in what you do, it's recognizing speech, and it's offering you suggestions. And we can see artificial intelligence being used in face recognition, in speech recognition, in analysing documents. But this is only just the beginning of what artificial intelligence is going to do to knowledge workers. In the legal process area, they're already using machine intelligence to read documents. So with machine intelligence, we can read natural language. We can read a document, and we can train the artificial intelligence system to recognise words and phrases and to understand, and get better progressively at it. Which means if you have to analyse a large quantity of documents in a legal situation to identify particular phrases or clauses, then you can use this kind of technology. This is precisely the sort of work that is currently being doing by those paralegals and those junior lawyers in those back offices that the big law firms have been creating. Because once you've created a transaction-based back office or a shared service center, well, the next step is that you can outsource it, and then finally you can make it completely automatic. In the world of IT systems, there's a lot of interest in what is called robotic process automation, using clever artificial intelligence systems to manage the complexities of IT systems. We're just at the beginning of this. If you want to learn more, then I'd suggest go and look at the IBM Watson site. There's a really good video on there that explains artificial intelligence and explains how it works. The key bits of it are, first of all, this ability to read natural language and genuinely understand it. The next is the ability to learn, so we can train an expert system. And then finally, to work and generate hypotheses. So Watson is being used to find cures for cancer. It's being used in legal work. It's being used to augment the work of experts. And it's only just at its early stages. And it's a very good game player, of course. I think it was Watson that won the Jeopardy competition, which is the trivia quiz. Okay, so artificial intelligence is coming. No, wrong. Artificial intelligence is here, and it's going to do more and more. In the UK, we've just made it legal for driverless vehicles to operate on our road. Driverless vehicle technology is based around artificial intelligence. There are significant limitations at the moment in terms of the quality of the sensors and the way in which the technology works. But you would expect that to get progressively better and for us to see increasing numbers of driverless vehicles. There are big potential for these vehicles in things like mining and in farm work. So there are mines that operate in Australia where all of the dump trucks that are taking ore from the mine up to the smelting plant are driverless. And the driverless vehicles don't get tired, they're more fuel efficient, they don't have accidents, they keep going through the night, and they don't produce as much wear and tear on the vehicles. They are, in all respects, better than having a human operator. And you can see the same potential in farm work, driverless farm vehicles. Did you realise it's possible to milk a cow without human intervention? Pretty common in Europe to have automated milking systems where the cow, when it's ready to be milked, walks into a robotic milking machine, and the milking machine cleans the cow, attaches the milking apparatus, recognises which cow it is, gives them the appropriate diet, milks the cow feeds, and happily walks on the way. And there is no involvement from a human being at all, other than to check the programming of the robotic milking machine. So we cut out a huge amount of human labour, and we can see this coming, robotic use on the farm becoming more and more expensive. So what about this thing, human-level machine intelligence? Artificial intelligence that is as good as you and me at doing a professional task. Well, this is from a table from a new book by a guy called Nick Bostrom, who's an academic at Oxford University. He's actually a philosopher. And his book is largely about the social implications of this sort of technology. Because this has the potential to radically destroy work. And he did a survey of people that are expert in artificial intelligence and working on how do we develop artificial intelligence. And you can see the range of data. So, 2022, there's a 10% probability of having a human-level machine intelligence. 2075, and 90% certainty. Now, this of course is a forecast. And remember what I said about we overestimate the speed at which we might adopt technology, and we underestimate the impact. Well, we may be very much overestimating how quickly this will occur. And it may be that we're not talking about 2075, but we're talking about something 50 years beyond. Whatever this date, what is clear is that over the next decades, we will see more and more artificial intelligence systems being available, competing for some of the work that you and I will be doing. And it's not just you and I. This is a robotic pharmacy system. So what it does, it dispenses drugs. It does away with the nice man who takes your prescription from the doctor and gets the right medicines and gives it to you. It does it entirely automatically. So we eliminate the need for a pharmacist, other than to have someone to have a conversation with while we're waiting for the robot to do their stuff, and maybe someone to give us some advice about the best thing for our sore throat, because we haven't got a prescription for that. So, whether it's people in the legal profession, or the medical profession, or in pharmacy, robotics and artificial intelligence are here and coming. Our business school in London is right in the centre of the financial district. And when I walk to work in the morning, I go past any number of cranes and building sites, because the city is constantly changing. Old buildings are being knocked down, new buildings are being built. It changes all the time. And a long time ago, my first job in the technology industry, I wanted a course on how to sell. And the key message of that course was, change is opportunity. And technology keeps changing, and it always generates opportunities, but it generates winners and losers. I think the challenging thing with artificial intelligence is that there are observers who are beginning to say, actually, we may be entering a period where technology doesn't create jobs, it starts to destroy them. The past technologies, although we've made things more efficient, and we've relocated, and we've done all that clever stuff to make ourselves more productive, hasn't destroyed work at all. But there is the potential in these new technologies, robotics, artificial intelligence, to do that. And we face choices over the extent to which we allow them to be adopted and the extent to which they become all pervasive. So to that degree, I want to try a question mark to change the opportunity, because it may not be such an opportunity going forward. And that's why I said, this is what you're going to have to wrestle with. Because actually, in 5 years' time, I'm going to be on a beach, enjoying myself, and not worrying quite so much about my professional career, because I'm coming to the end of that. But for you, this is the stuff that's going to be going on through your lifetime, and you need to think about it. It's a shame there are no philosophers in the audience, because I think we need philosophers to help us with this particular question. And if you doubt me, then there are some very influential people saying, hey, we need to really think about what is going on and the implications of these changes that are coming, because they may well not be such a good thing for all of us. And Bill Gates is one, Professor Stephen Hawking is another that's been in the news recently in the UK. The guy that is, his name escapes me, who runs the Tesla car corporation in the US, all have begun to say, look, we need to think seriously about the way in which artificial intelligence is going to start to impact on knowledge workers and on professionals. Okay, well, I'm done with my talking bit, so I'm more than happy to answer questions. I hope that wasn't too quick or too English for those of you that are less fluent than I am. I regret to say I could not have done it in Spanish. Questions?
So you are invited to chit-chat, talk to one another, and come up with a couple of questions that some of you might be interested. How do you see, what did you get from the conference? So please talk to the person sitting next to you, and then we'll open the room for questions.